Your time is literally worthless to them. Do you have a tendency to work for free? Or do you feel like you need to work for free in order to get experience you need as a space consultant or a space service provider? Well, here's why you should not work for free. Lessons learned from my own experience. Hi, my name is Laura Forsick. I'm the Executive Director of space consulting firm Astrolytical. I have been guilty throughout my career of working for free too much, volunteering for this, doing pro bono work there, really throwing myself at organizations and projects that either I worked completely for free or I was significantly underpaid. And this continues, unfortunately, to this very year. And it is a tendency that I have, and therefore I see it in others, their tendency to think that they need to work for free or that they feel obligated to work for free or undercharge for their services. But here is the trick. You are a professional. Even if you are very early in your career, even if you are coming from outside the space sector, you are still a professional and you still deserve to be paid for your labor, for your expertise, for your time, for your brain, for what it is that someone is asking you to do. So here are a number of reasons why you should not work for free or feel like you are obligated to work for free. And at the end, I have a series of scripts that I use and that you can use to counter requests for working for free. So first, and probably most important, is that when you work for free, you devalue yourself in your own eyes. And this can lead to chronic under-earning, which I am completely guilty of. So I'm looking internally here and seeing why I am a chronic under-earner. It's because I have devalued myself so much throughout my career, starting as a undergraduate and graduate student, where in the sciences at least, they really drill into your head that you need to do work for free for the benefit of the wider scientific community. And if you don't come from the science background, you might not have that kind of ingrained idea within your head that you need to do all of this speaking and public outreach and community engagement and committee involvement and conference planning and all of this stuff that I have done throughout my 2 decades of working in the space sector that I have done for free. And it all started with being a student and being told that my time was not worth anything, or my time was worth so very little, but what I needed was the experience. So that does make sense when you are a student or when you're very, very early in your career. And I'm going to talk a little bit more later in the video about when it might make sense to work for free. But unfortunately, the habit of working for free trains your mind to think that you are not worthy to ask for compensation, or you're not worthy to ask for what you're worth in compensation. So it goes back to the under-earning. When I started Astrolytical 7.5 years ago, I significantly devalued my own labor and expertise because I had been trained to do so. And of course, as a new business owner, I didn't really know what the market would pay for my services, and I had no track record. Astrolytical was brand new. We had no reputation back 7 years ago. But what my training did was teach me that I could not ask for more, or that I should not ask for more. And so for years, for many years, my company under-earned, and I therefore under-earned, and I was not able to hire the help that I needed, and therefore I was not able to grow as quickly until recently because I had this ingrained idea that I was not worthy of charging more, or in some cases for very short projects or phone calls, I did actually work completely for free. Now, I never actually took on a completely pro bono client, but there were client engagements, let's say, free phone calls where I probably should have charged for those calls, but I never asked, and therefore I did not, because I had this mindset of I'm not worthy to ask, or I shouldn't ask, or someone is asking this for me as a favor, and therefore I should go ahead and say yes because I'm a nice person. No, that's not how it works in business. So when you have this history of undercharging or not charging, then you develop that habit and you develop that mindset, and that's really detrimental to your entire career. The second reason why you should not work for free is probably also the second highest reason, which is it devalues your labor and expertise in the eyes of others. And so the clientele that you're working with, the people that in any way are connected to you that know that you are working for free, they see your labor as worth nothing. And so anytime that you have this reputation of working for free, you can have this reputation. I had such a really great reputation in my 20s of being this and doing that and being here and doing all these things, and I was everywhere. And I had that reputation because I volunteered my time and I worked for free. And therefore, when I was starting my company, I did not have a reputation of asking for what I'm worth. And therefore, others saw me as not worthy of being paid for my labor. Others saw me as free. And therefore, that's how they valued me. That's how they classified me. They forever classified me as that student that I once was, rather than the professional that I had developed into. And then you get stuck in a loop, which is truly unfortunate, because if you've been working for free for someone for so long and then you ask for compensation, they may or may not give that to you. They're more inclined not to, because suddenly you're changing the rules on them. Suddenly you are asking for something that you've never asked before, and they might be thrown off. Now, you should do this. You should absolutely ask for compensation if you've been working for free, if the situation merits it. It is going to throw them off because you have been working for free for so long. So you set the expectation that your labor is free for them. And some people will not appreciate you if you are working for free. Some very much will. Some will tell you how much they appreciate what you do for them for free or for very low cost. But a lot of the times I have found that people just take your labor for granted. They take for granted that you're working for free, and therefore they don't value you. They take it for granted that you're going to do this. It's just an assumed fact, and therefore they don't really appreciate the work that you're doing. And unfortunately, this leads to a lack of boundaries with those that you are working with for free. They do not value your time. Your time is literally worthless to them because they are not paying for it. So they can continue to ask and ask and ask and ask of you without a second thought, because they do not value any of your time because it costs them nothing. And I've seen this repeatedly, where suddenly, because you have no contract, especially in most cases, you are suddenly taking on more and more and more free labor that you didn't expect to take, or maybe your responsibilities are going in a different direction than you expected, because they know that you're not going to say no and you're not going to ask for compensation. So they are going to overstep the boundaries that you thought maybe that you initiated in the beginning. But unfortunately, because it's not a structured paid contract, you do not have firm boundaries in place in most cases. And therefore, they're going to keep asking and asking and asking of you, and maybe even ask things of you that you are not comfortable with, or that you don't want to do, or that take you away from the initial reason that you agreed to work for free in the first place. And this can lead to resentfulness. So you may have started out working for free because you really felt like you wanted to contribute to a certain cause, or to a certain individual, or to a certain project. And the more that somebody oversteps their bounds, the more they take advantage of you, the more that they take you for granted, resentfulness can come up. And so if you are excited about a project in the beginning, and then you've been working on this project for a while, you might find that resentfulness builds up if you're not being treated as you should, and you're not compensated as you should be. It can completely destroy how you feel about the project that you're working on. And one of the main reasons why you really need to be thinking about this is because time is finite. We have 24 hours in a day. We have how many years on this planet? We don't know. So when you say yes to working for free, you are saying no to working on something else. The time that you might spend with your friends, your family, your hobbies, any other thing that you might be working on for your own benefit, education, or running a business, or personal or professional development, all of that might get stalled or delayed because you said yes to an opportunity that is not paying you. So you really need to be careful what you're saying yes to, and what it is that you might be saying no to because you've said yes to this other opportunity that is not paying you. And of course, one of the most obvious things is it's not earning you money. And this is especially important if you're a small business owner like I am, where the entire purpose of a business is to be profitable And therefore, if you're working for free, you are not making profit. You're not bringing in revenue. You cannot bring in other people and pay them, let alone yourself, if you are working for free. And if you're not a small business owner, you're still trying to make a living. And so therefore, you need to ask for what you're worth within the parameters of whatever contract you are working for your full-time employer, of course. In some cases, you are not allowed to ask for outside compensation, but that tends to be less common. Most likely, you can ask for outside compensation, even if you're working full-time for somebody else. And think about this, the time that you are spending not making money over the years, and I've had 20 years now of working in the space sector, that compounds on itself. And so that is lost income, that is lost savings, that is lost retirement savings. And so when you think about, oh, it's okay that I work for free now or temporarily, think about how that's going to impact not just your now, but years down the line, and even perhaps your retirement age. Think about these things, especially back to point number one, where you've devalued yourself in your own eyes. Therefore, you're less likely to ask for money. You're less likely to ask for raises. You're less likely to ask for what you're worth. And that compounds over the course of your career. So really start the habit now if you're early, or create the habit now if you're mid-career like myself, of asking what you're worth. What I want you to do is evaluate every so often all the activities that you're doing in a professional context. And if you are working for free, and here this could be speaking, virtual or in-person speaking, it could be writing, it could be doing pro bono volunteer work for a client, it could be volunteering for a committee. You need to evaluate whether or not these opportunities are paying you or compensating you in a way that makes it worth it. And there are other ways to compensate you that might be worth it that are not monetary. It could truly be that you truly need the exposure. And this should really be excellent exposure. Don't think just because you are outside the space sector that you need to work on anything in the space sector to get exposure. Oh no, you need to actually limit yourself to what is most highest profile or most valuable project or opportunity that you can get involved with, preferably paid, but if not paid, that's giving you a platform, that's giving you either internal circle that is well connected to other people in the space sector, or an external platform that is really connected to a very large audience that you can directly tie to the success of your career. Other ways of compensation would be equity compensation. Now, I have personally not had any success with getting equity compensation to pay out for me, so I no longer accept that, but you might be different. You might decide that you actually are okay with taking on equity in a startup and helping them for free in exchange for equity in their company. It could be a charity or a philanthropy that you truly believe in. For example, I still work with students on a small basis where I am mentoring students or talking to them in a classroom setting, and I do that for free because I feel like that is giving back in a way that is appropriate for what I want to do, and that's something I believe in. And so therefore, that is something that I am willing to give my time to for free because I believe in it. I think that's well worth my time. And so you might have some other professional type of activity that you believe is worth your time that you would give for free for charity or for giving back or just because you believe in the cause. Conferences are another area where most of the time you are working for free, but you're working to put together a conference. Most likely you are either getting your registration waived, or you are even getting maybe free travel expenses in exchange for the work that you're doing on this conference committee. And that's another reason why you might want to work for free, specifically speaking, if it gets you a very high profile platform where you are in front of the kind of people who you can do business with. Think about what you want to get out of the speaking engagement. Yes, the audience gets something from you. What do you want to get from the audience or from the speaking platform if it's not monetary compensation? Same with writing. Almost never should you write for free. If you are in any way a science communicator, journalist, anything where you should be paid for your writing, then you have no reason to work for free writing on a platform that does not pay you. There are committees everywhere that you can get involved with, but the only committees that I'd recommend you join are the ones that go back to that philanthropy, that giving back idea, or the extremely high profile ones, National Space Council, NASA advisory committees, these ones that are going to put you in the room with very high caliber people and make a difference, and that are typically not paid. And so think about the types of committees that you're involved with and what you get out of it, as well as what they get from you. I did say that I still suffer from this problem, so I do want to briefly tell you of 2 examples this year there I evaluated what I was doing and how I was spending time, and I realized that I needed to drop 2 things that I was doing for free long term. Both of them had previously vaguely promised that they would eventually pay me when they could. That never happened. The first one asked me to double my time. And when I said, sure, that sounds great, let's return to the topic of compensation that we previously discussed a year and a half ago, they completely ignored my request to even talk about. They never spoke to me again, despite a year and a half of working with them, which is not only unprofessional, it's rude. And it goes back to the idea that they took me for granted and I never got a thank you for all of that work that I did for them. The second one was also an opportunity where there was a vague idea that there might be money in the future, but mainly they were going to use my brain. And unfortunately, that never really happened in the way that I expected. They never used me in the way that they initially said that they would. And so it goes back to the idea that my time was worthless to them, and they kept overstepping their boundaries. And so they kept giving me work that was really not worth my time, not using my brain, really meaningless work, to the point where I was resentful. And when I dropped that opportunity, again, I got no thank you, no gratitude from the work that I had done. So it really can surprise you when you start stepping back and really erecting those boundaries that you should have had in the first place, with the ways people react and the way that they show that they were actually taking you for granted this whole time. As promised, here are some scripts that you can use to counter any requests that you might get. And I get these all the time, requests that you might get to work for free. Again, this could be pro bono projects. It could be speaking engagements. It could be writing assignments, any kind of request where you have no interest in doing the work unless you are paid for it. No. No is a complete sentence. Feel free to use no and not justify why. This sounds great. My rate is. This one I use quite a lot. This is probably my favorite. I'm not taking on any pro bono work at this time. My rate is. Another favorite. That sounds great. What is your budget for this project? This is another favorite of mine within the context of being a business owner, where if they want to work with me in the business context, they need to have a budget. They need to think about a budget before they ask me to do any project work for them. If they come back to you and they say they don't have a budget, or they hadn't thought about a budget, you can come back and say, this all sounds great. Why don't you get back to me when you have a budget in place? And this one is for me. You don't have to use this one, but when someone offers me equity compensation, which I no longer accept, I say, I do not accept equity compensation. My rate is, because I cannot pay myself and my employees with equity compensation. I really hope this helped you. I really hope you understand that there are times that it might be beneficial for you to work for free, but they're going to be rare. They're going to be unusual. And I want you to value yourself, because when you step up and value yourself, it really changes how you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself, and possibly your entire earning future for the rest of your career. And if you're starting a small business, particularly a consulting business, think about how you can get that reputation from the start of charging what you are worth. And if you have any questions about your career, I'm also a space career coach. I can help you work through that. If you are a business owner and you're trying to figure out what the market rate might be for your services, I can also help you out there. So just contact me either at lauraforsick.com or astranalytical.com. Thanks so much.